The Commonwealth Act was developed on June 4, 1986. The document grants the people of Guam the right of full self-government through adoption of a constitution and within specified guidelines. It recognizes the right of self-determination of the people of Guam and makes specified provisions and amendments to the U.S. Constitution applicable to Guam.
Ricky Bordallo had always believed that the people of Guam should have the right to determine their ultimate relationship. When the United States took ownership of Guam, they never gave the Chamorro people, the indigenous people, the right to choose whether they wanted to be a state, they wanted to be an independent nation, or whatever status they wanted. And if you read the Constitution of the United States very carefully, the U.S. can own property. They cannot own people. They cannot own human beings. And the human beings on this island, the Chamorro people, were never given that opportunity to make that choice. They went from a colony of Spain to a colony of the United States. We're still a colony of the United States. When the islands of Micronesia started getting their self-determination procedures put down on paper, he thought that it was a good time for the people of Guam to start moving in that same direction. Ricky wanted to, in the same time frame, create self-determination for the people of Guam. And so he started moving towards that, and then he got the politicians, the people in the legislature, to agree to put together a vote on self-determination. The people at that time chose to take the Commonwealth route. Now, Commonwealth is not an ultimate political status. So there's no such animal as no such thing as Commonwealth. You're either an independent nation, you're a freely associated nation, or you're a state of the United States. Those are the only three true political statuses available. But Ricky thought that, all right, we need a period of time where the people of Guam can decide what their final status will be. And that's the period of time where we would write the Commonwealth, we would write the Constitution, the people would vote on the Commonwealth, they would vote on the Constitution, and then we would take it to Congress and get Congress vote on it. Okay, that was his vision. It was a time frame, a period of time where people would choose their political status.
Ricky envisioned the Commonwealth Act as a kind of a transitional form of government that would eventually lead to a final act of self-determination. He did not mention how long this would take, but he did envision that during the transitional period, Guam would develop and implement an active program of educating our people on what the political status options that would be available and what each would mean for Guam in the relationship with the United States. So in answer to your question, I would say that Ricky envisioned the Commonwealth Act as a transitional form of government, just to get the people ready for future development.
During the writing of the Commonwealth, I was part of a small group of people that actually I was pushing for free association. I don't want to be a state. And Ricky said, okay, you go ahead and do that, but help me and this group write the Commonwealth Act. And there was a bunch of us. There was Ricky himself, there was Paul Bordallo, his brother. We had a guy by the name of Bob Rogers, who was a professor at the university. Actually, he was the executive director of the commission. Okay, and then we had a few other people, Gene Ramsey, who was his chief of staff, help us put together the Commonwealth Act. Finally, in 1982, he delivered the draft Commonwealth Act to President Carter. He delivered that, and then what happened is we got together, he lost the election, We got together with then Governor Joseph Ada, and we started to negotiate with the Bush administration the provisions of the Commonwealth Act. In fact, the Secretary of Interior at that time appointed a task force to negotiate the provision of the Commonwealth Act under Governor Joseph Ada. I still have the negotiating papers where both Joseph Ada and Stella Guerra, who at that time was Assistant Secretary of Interior, signed off on the provisions that were approved. Only two provisions were not approved. One was mutual consent, and the other one was the tomorrow only vote. And the reason for that is the State Department just said you can't do that. It would be unconstitutional. But we were still negotiating when Joseph Ada got out of office and negotiations stopped. But we literally finished negotiating the Commonwealth Act. It was just never pursued because both President Bush got out of office, Joseph Ada got out of office. You know, one of the things that people have to understand is when times are good, when the economy is good on Guam, everybody wants to pursue political status. When the economy is not good, nobody wants to touch it. And, it's understandable.
Well, there were many people who did not understand that the Commonwealth Act would establish a transitional period toward a final political status determination. I remember back then many people thought that the Commonwealth would be the final political relationship with the United States, but that was wrong. Instead of trying to compromise at the time, we just walked away from it. So there wasn't any further development. We did spend an awful lot of time, and incidentally, I was on the commission when my husband was no longer the governor. I was on that commission, and it seemed that I wanted to compromise a little bit, you know, and then we didn't continue with it.
The trial of the century is over. A jury has found former Governor Ricky Bordallo guilty on 10 counts of a 17-count federal corruption indictment.
Of Guam, considering the unstable situation in the Philippines, is no reason to intimidate and harass local leaders. He says the trial is still an example of colonialism and racism on the part of the United States, and he says he'll continue to talk that way until the Chamorro people are given a say in their own future. But will he appeal the convictions?
Yeah, to me, I'd just as soon go to jail, you know, for the principle I stand for. Because it's going to be very economically difficult for me to appeal and have the resources to do it. That again is one of the sad commentary of our criminal justice system. It takes money.
Fananga